Here we go with my third and very likely final custom LEGO minifigure showcase video for Black Panther. This time featuring the General of the Dora Milaje, Okoye, probably one of the most detailed minifigures I've made in quite a while, right next to Killmonger, who I showcased previously. And this is pretty much like part 2 of his showcase, because I originally wanted to have the both of them in the same video. Didn't quite work out that way. Who cares? We're here now, and I'm so glad I went back around after Infinity War to make these additional characters, because I absolutely loved Okoye and Ndjaka in the film. So, with all that said though, let's get started. Okay, so here we go with Okoye, the full figure in its entirety, and yeah, this one was definitely pretty complicated and very time consuming. I mean, I just came off of making Killmonger. When I took a look at the reference for Okoye's costume, I was just kind of like, here we go again. I was excited, but of course also intimidated, and it's not because the designs really scared me. It was just more so because I actually find it somewhat refreshing to paint a minifigure like this, because most of the time I'm painting, certain costumes that usually don't incorporate this level of detail. And when I say this level of detail, I mean all these different lines and patterns that are spread throughout her costume that just really made for a very unique painting process, which always makes it more fun for me. And you can see the main head that I used for Okoye as a base was actually Shuri's head from the Infinity War sets, of course using the aggressive facial expression. I definitely think it's more fitting for Okoye than it was Shuri. And of course, as you can see, I did paint on all of her head tattoos using a combination of both dark gray and dark red. They're not entirely accurate, I'll definitely admit that, but I think I came pretty close, as they are pretty difficult to make out. And I did also paint on the earrings onto both sides of the head as well. But the face is literally the only part of this minifigure that isn't painted. And even on the face, I did paint the lips in red as opposed to the original dark brown that they were initially. And yeah, then you can also see I did use an area-like curved torso for this minifigure. And then I did add on all kinds of 3D elements in the form of all these different straps and other dark brown areas. And then of course I did paint the detail on top of that. But yeah, just to get it out of the way though, the Sonic Spear, it's pretty basic. It's just a standard Lego spear that I sharpened up a bit, and then I did glue on some rubber bits onto the bottom as well to make it as accurate as I could. I didn't want to paint on like the gold parts of the handles, because I did still want to be able, that just totally fell off my table, because I did still want to be able to position the minifigure's hand at any point on the actual spear, for photos and different things like that. But yeah, then the shoulder armor, as you can see, is all three-dimensional as well. Those are all individually layered on there, just using basic paper, and the same can be said for the cuffs. However, of course, the cuffs were definitely very time-consuming, because I did paint on every single one of these lines, and so it was pretty crazy, man, but I'm definitely pretty proud of it. And yeah, then you can also see that on the side of the minifigure right there, I do have a couple little laces that are actually attached into the waist cape. And if we go ahead and split the minifigure in half really quick, you can see that this whole piece is actually glued onto the front of the torso, so I definitely have to be pretty careful with it, but it is pretty sturdy, and I would say it was probably the most time-consuming part of making this minifigure, of course, were all these patterns here. However, you can see the waist cape is a modified Cape Madness waist cape that I pretty much trimmed up to look just like Okoye's. I did glue on an additional piece of fabric onto the back, and I also, of course, painted the entire thing up in my own yellow color. And then, of course, like I mentioned just a second ago, I did glue on my own little bits of lace in there, and I painted those as well. And then you can see all the additional detail that I have going on the legs. While it's not much, it is accurate, because believe it or not, on her costume, if you're really looking at her suit in the movie, I mean, the detail pretty much all but cuts off when you get down to her legs. And so I pretty much did my best to portray exactly that on this minifigure. And one thing that I did that I don't do for a lot of the minifigures featuring the area-like curved torso, because I usually don't like painting on the sides of torsos if I can help it, I did extend all the detail that you see on the front of the torso all the way onto the sides, and then of course that does extend and connect to the back. And then also one thing I want to mention before we wrap up here is that I did also glue on these little bits of rubber onto the top before painting those in gold, as basically my way of continuing the shoulder armor up past the actual shoulders on the arms themselves and onto the actual torso. So yeah, that is pretty much it for Michonne from The Walking Dead, and I think on that note, we're gonna go ahead and start to wrap up this video.
I am loyal to that throne, no matter who sits upon it.
Hey, what the hell was that?
Alright, and there you have it. That is it for Okoye's showcase. Thank you so much for sticking around for the whole thing, guys. I so appreciate it, and I know that there are probably a lot of you who have already commented at this point, why have I not made Shuri or M'Baku or Nakia and, you know, so many other fantastic characters from the film, and ultimately, as much as I would love to, I do still want to move on to other projects, of course, and I just don't think there's going to be enough time to make any other standout characters, but I knew at the very minimum I had to at least make Okoye and Killmonger, and also I will be posting progress photos of my next project, Ant-Man and the Wasp, finally making the two of them, posting all my progress over on my Patreon long before the preview photos that I post over on my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram before the actual showcase video on here. I know, it gets really complicated really fast, and you probably didn't follow that, and that's totally understandable, but links are below, and so that's it, man. I don't have anything else to add. Yeah. Alright, bye.
Kuba uphinde wakuchukumisa ngakunqoma apha kwesisihlalo.
Later.
Claw isn't talking, but I appreciate the help.
Okoye, we were just shaking hands.
Actually kind of refreshing to paint designs like this onto a custom minifigure as opposed to, you know, what's just standard. There's a spider on the wall. Alright, so here we go, and all of my Black Panther minifigures in general, and by all of them I mean just these two, Okoye and, well, you know, 3, and you know, whatever. God damn it. Alright, so here we go with the full figure. And then, of course, all the detail is painted on top of all the, and then, of course, the detail is painted on top of those areas, and then, of course, the detail is painted on top, and then, of course, the detail. F this. I'm done!